Welcome to the English learning community. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another exciting episode. Today, we're diving into something truly special. A story that's not just going to improve your listening and writing skills, but also inspire you to take your English to the next level. So grab a cup of coffee, sit back, and let's get started. The day I realized I couldn't do it all. How I learned to let go and trust my family. My name is Sarah, and for as long as I can remember, I have been the kind of person who likes to do everything myself. I thought I was strong, capable, and independent. I believed that if I wanted something done right, I had to do it myself. This belief shaped my life, but it also brought me to a breaking point. This is the story of how I learned to let go and trust my family. It all started on a typical Monday morning. The alarm rang at 5:30 a.m., and I jumped out of bed. My mind was already racing with all the things I needed to do. I had to make breakfast for my husband John and our two children, Emma and Liam. I had to pack their lunches, help them get ready for school, and then clean the house before heading to work. My job as a teacher kept me busy all day, and after work, I had to pick up the kids, help them with homework, cook dinner, and do the laundry. By the time I went to bed, I was exhausted, but I never complained. I thought this was just how life was supposed to be. One morning, as I was rushing to get everything done, Emma looked at me and said, "Mum, why do you always look so tired?" I smiled and told her I was fine, but deep down, I knew I wasn't. My body was tired, my mind was overwhelmed, and my heart felt heavy. I kept telling myself that I had to keep going because my family needed me. But the truth was, I was running on empty. One day, everything changed. It was a Friday, and I had just finished a long week at work. I was in the kitchen, preparing dinner, when I suddenly felt dizzy. My vision blurred, and my legs felt weak. I tried to hold onto the counter, but I couldn't. I fell to the floor, and everything went black. When I opened my eyes, I was lying on the couch, and John was sitting next to me, looking worried. "Sarah, you fainted," he said. "We need to take you to the doctor." I shook my head and told him I was fine, but he insisted. Reluctantly, I agreed. At the doctor's office, I explained how I had been feeling: tired, stressed, and overwhelmed. The doctor listened carefully and then said something that changed my life. "Sarah, you can't keep doing everything by yourself. Your body is telling you to slow down. You need to ask for help." I wanted to argue. I wanted to tell the doctor that I had to do everything because no one else could. But as I looked at John, I saw the concern in his eyes. He reached for my hand and said, "Sarah, we're a team. Let us help you." That night, as I lay in bed, I thought about what the doctor and John had said. I realized that I had been so focused on being the perfect wife and mother that I had forgotten to take care of myself. I had been trying to do it all, but in the process, I had lost sight of what really mattered: my health, my happiness, and my family. The next morning, I decided to make a change. I sat down with John and the kids and told them how I had been feeling. I explained that I needed their help to make our home run smoothly. To my surprise, they were eager to help. Emma offered to set the table for meals. Liam said he would take out the trash, and John promised to help with the cooking and cleaning. At first, it was hard for me to let go. I would watch them do things differently than I would, and I would feel the urge to step in. But I reminded myself that it didn't have to be perfect. What mattered was that we were working together as a family. Over time, I started to feel better. My body was less tired, my mind was clearer, and my heart felt lighter. I realized that asking for help wasn't a sign of weakness, it was a sign of strength. It showed that I trusted my family and valued their contributions. This experience taught me an important lesson. I don't have to do it all. Life is better when we share the load and support each other. Now when I feel overwhelmed, I remind myself to take a step back and ask for help. And every day, I am grateful for my family, who showed me that I am not alone. Learning to let go. After that day at the doctor's office, my life began to change. It wasn't easy at first. I had spent years doing everything myself, and now I had to learn to let go. But with the support of my family, I started to see that I didn't have to carry the weight of the world on my shoulders. The first step was dividing the household chores. John and I sat down together and made a list of everything that needed to be done each week. We talked about who could do what, and we included Emma and Liam in the conversation. It was important to me that they felt involved and understood that everyone had a role to play in our family. Emma, who was 10 years old, volunteered to set the table for meals and help with folding laundry. Liam, who was 8, said he would take care of the trash and keep his room tidy. John offered to handle the grocery shopping and help with cooking dinner. At first, I worried that it wouldn't work. Would they remember their tasks? Would they do them properly? But I reminded myself that it was okay if things weren't perfect. What mattered was that we were working together. The first few days were a learning experience for all of us. Emma forgot to set the table one evening, and Liam left the trash bag by the door instead of taking it outside. I felt the urge to step in and do it myself, but I stopped. Instead, I gently reminded them of their responsibilities. Emma, can you please set the table? Liam, don't forget to take the trash out. They nodded and quickly fixed their mistakes. Over time, they got better at their tasks. Emma started setting the table without being reminded, and Liam made a game out of taking the trash out, pretending he was on a secret mission. Seeing them take pride in their responsibilities made me realize that I had underestimated them. They were capable of more than I had thought. John's help in the kitchen was a game changer. He wasn't the best cook, but he was willing to learn. We started cooking dinner together, and it became a fun activity for us. We would laugh as he tried to chop vegetables or figure out how much seasoning to add. Sometimes the food didn't turn out perfect, but it didn't matter. What mattered was that we were spending time together and sharing the load. One evening, as we sat down to eat a meal that John had mostly prepared, Emma looked at me and said, "Mum, you look happy today." Her words touched my heart. I realized that I was happy. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I could breathe. I wasn't carrying the weight of everything alone, and it made a world of difference. But the biggest lesson came one Saturday morning. I had planned to clean the entire house, as I always did on weekends, but John stopped me. "Sarah," he said, "let's do it together. You don't have to do it all by yourself." I hesitated. Cleaning was something I had always done alone. I had a system, and I worried that others wouldn't do it the way I liked. But I took a deep breath and agreed. We divided the tasks. John vacuumed the living room, Emma dusted the furniture, and Liam picked up toys and put them away. I cleaned the kitchen, but for the first time, I didn't feel overwhelmed. When we finished, the house wasn't spotless, but it was clean enough. And more importantly, we had done it together. That day, I learned something important. Perfection isn't the goal. The goal is to create a home where everyone feels loved, supported, and valued. And that doesn't mean everything has to be perfect. It means sharing the work, supporting each other, and making time for what really matters. As the weeks went by, I started to notice small but meaningful changes in our family. The house wasn't always spotless, completely clean, and sometimes dinner was just sandwiches instead of a full meal. But something beautiful was happening. We were becoming a team. And for the first time in years, I felt like I wasn't alone. One evening, after a long day at work, I came home to find John and the kids in the kitchen. Emma was stirring a pot of soup, Liam was setting the table, and John was chopping vegetables. The scene made me stop in my tracks. My heart swelled, filled with emotion, with pride and gratitude. "What's all this?" I asked, smiling. "We wanted to surprise you, Mom," Emma said proudly. "Dad said you've been working so hard, and we wanted to help." I felt tears start to form in my eyes. This was more than just a meal. It was a sign that my family understood how much I had been carrying and wanted to share the load. I sat down at the table, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel the need to jump up and do something. I just enjoyed the moment. But life isn't always smooth sailing, easy. There were still days when things didn't go as planned. One Saturday, I had a long to-do list: laundry, grocery shopping, and cleaning the bathrooms. I was determined to get everything done, but by mid-afternoon, I was exhausted. My back ached, hurt, and my head was pounding, throbbing with pain. I sat down on the couch, feeling defeated. John noticed and sat down next to me. "Sarah, you don't have to do everything today," he said gently. "Let's prioritize, decide what's most important, what really needs to be done right now." I thought about it. The laundry could wait until tomorrow, and the bathrooms didn't need to be cleaned today. The only thing that really needed to be done was grocery shopping. "Okay," I said. "Let's just go to the store. The rest can wait." John smiled. "See? That's better. And guess what? Emma and Liam can come with us. We'll make it a family trip." The grocery store trip turned out to be fun. Emma and Liam helped pick out fruits and vegetables, and John pushed the cart while I made the list. We even stopped for ice cream on the way home. It wasn't a perfect day, but it was a good day, and I realized that sometimes good enough is better than perfect. Difficult words explained. 1. Spotless. Completely clean, with no dirt or mess. Example: the house wasn't always spotless, but it was clean enough. 2. Swelled. Filled with emotion, often to the point of feeling overwhelmed. Example: my heart swelled with pride. 3. Well up. When tears start to form in your eyes. Example: I felt tears well up in my eyes. 4. Smooth sailing. When things are easy and go well. Example: but life isn't always smooth sailing. 5. Ached. A continuous dull pain. Example: my back ached from all the work. 6. Pounding. A strong, throbbing pain, often in the head. Example: my head was pounding from stress. 7. Prioritize. To decide what is most important and focus on that first. Example: let's prioritize what really needs to be done. Life continued to get better after that. I learned to let go of my need to control everything, and my family stepped up in ways I never expected. But just when I thought everything was perfect, life decided to throw me a curveball, an unexpected challenge, in the funniest way possible. One Sunday morning, I woke up feeling relaxed. The sun was shining, the birds were chirping, and for once, I didn't have a long to-do list. The toaster was on fire, and Emma was fanning the smoke with a magazine while Liam sprayed water from a bottle. "What's going on?" I shouted, trying not to laugh. John looked at me with a sheepish, embarrassed but cute grin. I was trying to make toast, and maybe I left it in too long. Emma rolled her eyes. "Dad, you burned the toast so bad it caught fire." Liam, still spraying water, added, "I'm the firefighter. I'm saving the day." I couldn't help it. I burst out laughing. The sight of John, covered in soot, black dust from the fire, and the kids trying to save the kitchen was too funny. "Okay, firefighters," I said, still laughing. "Let's open the windows and turn on the fan. And maybe Dad should stick to cereal from now on." John pretended to be offended. "Hey, I was trying to be helpful." "And you were," I said, giving him a hug. "But maybe leave the toasting to me." We ended up eating cereal for breakfast, and it turned into one of the best mornings we'd had in a long time. We laughed, told stories, and enjoyed each other's company. And I realized that sometimes the messiest moments make the best memories. Difficult words. Explained. 1. Curveball. An unexpected challenge or surprise. Example: life decided to throw me a curveball. 2. Skipped a beat. When your heart feels like it stops for a moment, usually because you're startled or surprised. Example: my heart skipped a beat when I heard the loud noise. 3. Sheepish. Feeling embarrassed, but in a cute or funny way. Example: John looked at me with a sheepish grin. 4. Soot. Black dust or powder that comes from something burning. Example: John was covered in soot after the toaster caught fire. The lesson. That day, I learned that life doesn't have to be perfect to be wonderful. Sometimes the best moments come from the messiest situations, and while I still like to keep things organized, I've learned to laugh at the chaos, messy, noisy situations, and enjoy the ride. Now, when I feel overwhelmed, I remind myself of that Sunday morning, the smoke, the laughter, and the love that filled our home. And I know that as long as we're together, we can handle anything, even a toaster on fire. I hope you enjoyed Sarah's story. It's a reminder that life is better when we share the load, laugh at the messes, and cherish the moments with the people we love. Let me know if you'd like more stories or lessons. Let's dive into second best story that will change your life perspective. The day my body forced me to stop. A wake-up call to prioritize self-care. My name is Mia, and I'm a 25-year-old living in New York City. I moved here 3 years ago to chase my dreams. I wanted to make it big, become a successful writer, live in a fancy apartment, and have a life full of adventure. But what I didn't realize was that chasing my dreams would come at a cost. This is the story of how I learned to prioritize self-care, but only after my body forced me to stop. New York is a city that never sleeps, and neither did I. I worked as a freelance writer during the day and a waitress at a cafe at night. My days were packed from morning till midnight. I would wake up at 6 a.m., write articles for clients, attend meetings, and then rush to the cafe for my evening shift. By the time I got home, it was past midnight, and I was too tired to do anything but collapse into bed. At first, I loved the hustle. Busy, fast-paced life. I felt like I was living the dream, working hard, making money, and building my career. But slowly, the exhaustion started to creep in, come in slowly. I would wake up feeling tired, my body aching from lack of sleep. My mind was always racing, thinking about deadlines, bills, and the next thing on my to-do list. I told myself it was just part of the grind, hard work, and I had to keep going. One day, I woke up feeling worse than usual. My head was pounding, my throat was sore, and my body felt heavy. I knew I was sick, but I didn't have time to rest. I had a deadline for an article, and I couldn't afford to miss my shift at the cafe. So, I pushed through. I drank coffee to stay awake, took painkillers for my headache, and told myself I would rest later. But later never came. The next day, I felt even worse. My fever was high, and I could barely get out of bed. Still, I forced myself to work. I sat at my desk, typing with shaky hands, my vision blurry from the fever. I remember thinking, just one more hour, just one more article, then I'll rest. That's when it happened. I was halfway through an article when I suddenly felt dizzy. The room started spinning, and I couldn't breathe. I tried to stand up, but my legs gave out, stopped working, and I collapsed on the floor. Everything went black. When I opened my eyes, I was in a hospital bed. A nurse was standing next to me, checking my vitals, heart rate, temperature, etc. "You fainted," she said. "Your body is exhausted. You need to rest." I wanted to argue. I wanted to tell her I was fine and that I had work to do. But deep down, I knew she was right. My body had been screaming for help for months, and I had ignored it. Now, it had forced me to stop. The doctor came in and explained that I had been pushing myself too hard. My immune system, the body's defense against illness, was weak, and I had developed a severe case of exhaustion. "If you don't slow down," he said, "your body will shut down completely." Those words hit me like a ton of bricks, a heavy realization. I had been so focused on chasing my dreams that I had forgotten to take care of myself. I thought I was being strong, but in reality, I was being reckless. Difficult words explained. 1. Hustle. A busy, fast-paced life filled with hard work. Example. At first, I loved the hustle. 2. Creep in. To come in slowly, often without being noticed. Example. The exhaustion started to creep in. 3rd grind. Hard work, often repetitive and tiring. Example. I told myself it was just part of the grind. Fear gave out, stopped working. Example. My legs gave out and I collapsed. 7. Hit me like a ton of bricks. A heavy realization that feels overwhelming. Example. Those words hit me like a ton of bricks. Learning to slow down. After the doctor's warning, I knew I had to make a change, but it wasn't easy. For so long, I had tied my self-worth, how much I value myself, to my productivity. If I wasn't working, I felt like I was wasting time. But lying in that hospital bed, I realized that my health was more important than any deadline or paycheck. The first step was taking a break. I called my clients and explained that I needed a week off. I also told my boss at the cafe that I couldn't come in for a while. It was hard to admit that I needed help, but everyone was understanding. One client even said, "Mia, your health comes first. We'll manage until you're back." That week off was a turning point, a moment of change for me. For the first time in years, I allowed myself to rest. I slept in, took long baths, and read books just for fun. I even went for walks in Central Park, something I hadn't done since I moved to New York. The fresh air and sunlight felt amazing, and I realized how much I had been missing by staying cooped up, stuck inside, in my apartment or at work. But resting wasn't the only thing I needed to do. I also had to rethink my lifestyle. I started by making small changes. I set a strict bedtime and woke up at the same time every day. I cut back on, reduced coffee, and started drinking more water. I even downloaded a meditation app to help me relax before bed. The biggest change, though, was learning to say no. I had always been a yes person, agreeing to every project, every shift, every social event. But now I started to prioritize my well-being, health, and happiness. If something felt too overwhelming, I politely declined. At first, I felt guilty, but over time, I realized that saying no wasn't selfish. It was necessary. One day, my friend Lisa invited me to a party. It was a Friday night, and I had just finished a long week of work. My first instinct was to say yes, but I stopped myself. "I'm sorry, Lisa," I said. "I'm really tired, and I need to rest. Maybe next time." Lisa was surprised, but understanding. "Mia, I'm proud of you," she said. "You're finally putting yourself first." Her words made me realize how far I had come. I wasn't just taking care of my body, I was taking care of my mind and soul too. And it felt amazing. The test of strength. Just when I thought I had everything under control, life decided to test me again. It was a rainy Tuesday evening, and I was sitting on my couch, wrapped in a blanket, sipping tea. For the first time in months, I felt at peace. My work-life balance was improving, and I was finally starting to enjoy the little things, like the sound of rain tapping against my window. But then, my phone buzzed. It was a text from my boss at the cafe. "Mia, we're short-staffed tonight. Can you come in? I'll pay you double." My heart sank. I had promised myself I wouldn't overwork anymore, but the offer was tempting. Double pay meant I could cover my rent faster and save some money. I stared at the text, torn between my commitment to self-care and the pressure to earn more. I took a deep breath and typed, "I'm sorry, I can't tonight. I need to rest." The reply came instantly. "Mia, we really need you, just this once." I felt a knot, a tight feeling, in my stomach. What if they fired me for saying no? What if I lost my job and couldn't pay my bills? The old Mia would have said yes, without hesitation. But the new Mia knew better. I replied, "I'm really sorry, but I can't. I hope you find someone else." I put my phone down and tried to relax, but my mind was racing. What if I made the wrong choice? What if I lost everything I had worked so hard for? I felt a wave of anxiety, nervousness, wash over me, and I started to doubt myself. The next morning, I woke up to another text from my boss. My hands shook as I opened it. "Mia, I understand. Take care of yourself. Let me know when you're available." I let out a sigh of relief. They weren't mad at me. They understood. For the first time, I realized that setting boundaries, limits, didn't mean people would abandon me. It meant they respected me. But the test wasn't over. A few days later, I got an email from one of my biggest clients. They needed a last-minute article, and the deadline was tight. "We'll pay you triple if you can get it done by tomorrow," the email said. Triple pay. That was a lot of money. But I knew what it would cost me: late nights, stress, and sacrificing my health again. I stared at the email, my heart pounding. Could I really say no to this? I thought about the hospital bed, the doctor's warning, and the promise I had made to myself. I took a deep breath and replied, "I'm sorry, but I can't take on this project right now. I hope you find someone else." The reply came quickly. "Thanks for letting us know. We'll reach out again in the future." I felt a mix of emotions: relief, pride, and a little fear. Saying no was scary, but it was also empowering. I was finally putting myself first, and it felt like a victory. Months passed, and my life continued to change for the better. I had learned to say no, set boundaries, and prioritize my well-being. But the biggest change came when I least expected it, during a chaotic, messy and busy, but hilarious family visit. One weekend, my parents and younger brother Jake came to visit me in New York. I was excited, but also nervous. My apartment was small, and I wasn't sure how we would all fit. But more than that, I was worried about falling back into old habits. What if I tried to do too much and ended up exhausted again? The first day was a disaster in the funniest way possible. My mum insisted on cooking breakfast, even though she had no idea how to use my tiny kitchen. She accidentally set off the smoke alarm while making pancakes, and my dad ran around waving a towel to clear the smoke. Jake, who was supposed to help, was too busy laughing and recording the whole thing on his phone. "Mia, your kitchen is a death trap," my mom joked as she flipped a pancake onto the floor. I couldn't help but laugh. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't stressed about perfection. I was just enjoying the moment. Later that day, we went to Central Park. Jake challenged me to a race, and even though I hadn't run in years, I agreed. We took off, laughing and stumbling over each other, while my parents cheered us on. I didn't win, but I didn't care. It was the most fun I'd had in ages. That night, as we sat around my small dining table, eating takeout pizza, my dad said something that stuck with me. "Mia, you seem different, happier, lighter. What changed?" Thought about it for a moment. I realized I don't have to do everything myself. It's okay to ask for help, to say no, and to just enjoy life. My mum smiled. "We're proud of you, sweetheart. You've always been so strong, but it's okay to let others be strong for you too." Those words meant the world to me. For so long, I had thought being strong meant doing everything alone. But now I knew that true strength was knowing when to lean on, rely on others. The next morning, as my family packed up to leave, Jake handed me a small gift. It was a framed photo of us from the day before, mid-race, with our faces red and our hair a mess. "To remind you to have fun," he said with a grin. I hung the photo on my wall, right next to my desk. Every time I looked at it, I smiled. It was a reminder that life wasn't about being perfect. It was about being present, laughing, and loving the people around me. Difficult words. Explained. 1. Chaotic, messy, noisy, and out of control. Example. The first day was a disaster in the funniest way possible. It was chaotic. 2. Lean on. To rely on someone for support. Example. True strength was knowing when to lean on others. The lesson. That weekend with my family taught me the most important lesson of all. Life is better when you share it with others. It's not about being perfect or doing everything yourself. It's about finding joy in the messy, imperfect moments and letting the people you love be there for you. Now, when I feel overwhelmed, I look at that photo of Jake and me racing in Central Park. It reminds me to laugh, to breathe, and to remember that I'm not alone. And that's the most beautiful lesson of all. I hope you enjoyed Mia's story. It's a reminder that self-care isn't selfish. It's necessary. And sometimes, the messiest moments lead to the happiest endings. Let me know if you'd like more stories or lessons. If you enjoyed today's story and found it helpful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an episode, and we're here to support you every step of the way. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep believing in yourself. You've got this.